easy exhale. And then do it again. And as much as you would like, as you inhale, feel that healing light, sunlight is coming in, whatever colors of sunlight you like, coming in with your breath and pulsing through your entire body, just like that. Oh, and somehow gathering all of the less vibrant aspects that may be hanging around in various corners of your body. And when you exhale, they all go far into space. And you can do that as dramatically or as simply as you like. And let's do 3 more of those breaths at your own pace. Light coming in, whatever needs to leave, going out far into the distance, melting away. And with your last in-breath of this sequence, the sunlight, red, rose, yellow, orange, white, maroon, however it appeals to you, just the right colored sunlight comes in and flows through your entire body and just kind of lightens you up in every sense. And then even though you exhale some spark or orb of sunlight, your light remains somehow at your heart without you doing anything. It just belongs there. It's home of your light, and it's just there, and it's always there, and nothing will ever change it. And just be with that very lightly, with a sense that it's there, whether that's a visual sense or just a felt sense or just a willingness to imagine. It is there. And even with every breath, it extends its light throughout your being, from your heart center, a place we call the center of the body, center of your chest, deep inside. There's just this glowing, which is also a knowing, and it's intimately yours. And whatever worries, fears, disturbances arise for you, they arise like clouds before the sun. They never, ever dim this light. It's not possible. Well, there you are. Here we are in this world with our own light. And as you sense this light expanding from your heart, it expands straight up your central channel, that central core of alignment between your crown, the bottom of your spine. And so this light, just naturally, it's not that you have to do anything. When you turn on a light, the light is there. So this light shines up through your center toward your crown. And your attention is there and the light is there. And it's just a way of being present in your own body and sensing the spaciousness that is there, and that space is somehow luminous. And you don't have to do anything. Just see what you see. And so the interior of your whole skull is actually full of light, perhaps a very delicate light, but it's luminous. Not like we usually imagine billions of gray cells. Now we see it as luminous and full of space. And your skull, your whole head is spacious. And space always tends to have some luminosity associated with it. Moonlight, sunlight, starlight, cosmic light, your light. And just be with how that feels to you. And there's no way that it should feel. And please don't. If you notice yourself wondering, oh, am I doing it right? You can nod in a friendly way to that thought and let it go and just see what you see, feel what you feel. Your experience is your experience. No one will second guess it. And then the sense of spaciousness, of lightly luminous spaciousness, is also present through your neck. There's a kind of flowing. The light has been flowing up, and now it also flows down through your neck, filling your neck, but not filling your neck. Light doesn't actually fill anything. It fills the space that you can sense there. And your shoulders, especially your shoulders, your right shoulder. Can you let your mind enter that space? Your mind can find space anywhere. And your mind finds the space inside your shoulder, and there's some light there as well, very likely. It's a light of your own seeing, your own knowing is a kind of light. And so if there has been tension in your shoulders, now specifically your right shoulder, just let your mind light flow through it. And maybe there's more of a sense of ease, space, home. And likewise, your left shoulder. Your mind goes there easily. Your mind is your light. The light flows through space. And that space right now is in your shoulder. And at your own pace, let the light of your attention move down your right arm. Moving down, not just skimming the surface, but moving through the whole of your arm, from your shoulder, the sinews, the bones, the marrow. All of it, your mind finds space there. The light of your mind finds space there. Space, mind, light. Sensation. Down to your elbow. And moving through your forearm again, having suffused every little bone that makes up what we call elbow, flowing through your forearm, the light of your mind in the space of your forearm, your wrist, your palm, the back of your hand, every knuckle on your 5 fingers. Just to see, just go into the knuckle of your middle finger, the middle knuckle of your middle finger. Like a whole world is there, a world of space, sensation, seeing, feeling. Like you're there from the inside. And so with all your fingers, and then starting from the top of your left shoulder, the same. The light of your mind is a very kind light. It's gentle. It will never hurt or harm. And so if you like, you can feel that you are also just like that, moving through your own arm space with tenderness, a tender light, a soft light, a soft touch, and knowing that it is somehow also a loving. It's for your own arm, your own cells, your own bones, your own blood. Why not? If we can love this, we can love everyone. And at your own pace, down through your arm to your elbow. Light, space, love. Really not different. Mind is space, mind is love, mind is light. And it flows through your arm, through your fingers. And if you like, again, the third knuckle, the middle knuckle of your middle finger. And the flow is also continuing down from your neck through your upper chest. And again, the play of your awareness in the space of your chest. And a kind of warm and tender feeling within that. Feeling the space, feeling the potential, feeling the clear sense of seeing what you see, feeling what you feel, knowing what you know, whatever it is right now, however simple it is, some sensation, some awareness, whether it's more of space or light or love or all three or some combination. It's your real experience right now. Or whatever your experience is. It might not be something I have named, but it's still your experience. And letting that flowing knowing continue. Your diaphragm area, your rib cage, the space inside each rib. Go into one rib and see. We're just playing. We're playing to see what we will see if we see in a different way. What is that rib? Where is its space? Maybe it's filling with love. Maybe your ribs are ribs of love. They hold you. They serve you. And your belly area, a lot of space there. And letting your belly be easy, letting it fill with air, making you more aware of the space in your body, that part of your body. Space that's part of the space of your entire upper body, your chest, an open park. And your legs similarly. Letting your attention, your loving light of attention flow through the space of your right leg from your thighs down to your knee, maybe going inside your knee, the joint, big joint of your knee, and just realizing that what we've always thought of as solid can, well, can seem a little different, can seem a place of light, space, even love. Amazing. And then pouring down through your shins, not just the surface of your skin, deep within, the bone, marrow, the hair follicles, everything. Down through your ankles, inside the hollow of your ankles, the hollow of the bones of your feet. And this is some combination of playing, imagining, feeling, feeling what you feel, seeing what you see, and letting yourself feel it and see it. Every toe, your big toe, next toe, middle toe, next toe, little toe. Oh, the toes are so happy. You never think about them except when they hurt. And now you're sending the loving light of your mind into every toe, into every part of you. And same way going down your left leg. Whoosh, all the way down through your thigh to your knee. Not just the surface, the whole. And when you're ready, you'll move on down through your shins, to your ankles, to your foot, the spaces that you encounter in your shins, your ankle, your foot, and the toes of your left foot. So there's some orientation here, there's some flowing, there's some glowing, there's some knowing, and it's kind of perhaps replacing some of the sense of tight body, solid body, problematic body, heavy body. We're playing with being light, open, and loving that light and that openness. And it's our own knowing that is glowing, that brings the light, that is the light, that finds the space, that feels the love. So resting in this for a moment, resting and really inhabiting this sense that you may have right now, whatever it is, perhaps lighter, perhaps easier. Really inhabit this. Perhaps this is a realer sense of how you are and what you are than what we ordinarily carry around. And I invite you to try out a little scene that you will be in with this, a kind of this inhabiting of this body, this sensibility. Something that, for example, approaching a door, you have to dig for your keys, that kind of moment. When something's just a little bit difficult, or you're juggling groceries to hold them in one arm and open the car door with another arm. Something very precise, opening your computer and feeling that sort of ratcheting up. They have to meet the email. If you find just one moment where there's something that's a little bit of stress whenever it happens, or the phone rings when you don't want it to, some small thing like that. Choose one, bring it to mind, and just see how it is if you are inhabiting your body in the way that we have just been exploring. How is it at that moment, this particular thing, somebody's voice that you don't care for? We all have these moments. If you experience that thing occurring while you are flowing and glowing and loving and in the space of your body, is it any different? I'll give you a minute or two to explore that. You can keep coming back and refreshing this sense of loving light through your body, but then see how it is in this scene with just a little bit of a challenge in it. What happens? And just out of curiosity, if you like, you can continue exploring whatever moment you're already exploring. If you like, ratchet it up just a bit. 10 seconds of news. If you listen to that with this kind of body, is it any different? That light in your heart doesn't go out, but we might lose a sense of it, or we might not. I'll give you a minute to reflect in any way that is useful to you. Remembering that flowing is still going. Space is still there. The sunlight of your heart is still there. And I'd love to hear a little bit what that was like for you. Yeah, Deborah.
It was a very good reminder because I can go along and not let stuff just slam me. And then every now and then I forget and it does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's a lot of work in a sense to try to remain that spacious all the time. But it helps.
Uh-huh. So you're able to remain spacious at
Sometimes.
sometimes, yeah. That's
And other
nice.
times no.
Uh-huh.
So it's a
When
good
you, yeah,
reminder.
what?
It was a very good reminder,
It was a
having
good,
just had one of those non-spacious incidents a while back ago.
right. Reminders are very precious, and the fact that you are open to being reminded and can, see it as a reminder of something that you in fact already knew. That's very precious also.
So thank y'all
Yeah.
again for doing this.
Yeah, thank you too. Anyone else? Someone else? Yes, Stephanie.
Hi.
Hi.
So the other day, gosh, I don't know what day it is. I guess it was yesterday only. We were.
We know that feeling. Was it last year or yesterday?
We're constantly saying, "What time is it? What day is it?" Anyway, the thing that keeps me on track is we had Herba practice coming up, and here in New York, there was a storm, a big windstorm,
Wow.
rainstorm happening, and they were predicting 70-mile-an-hour winds, and it was pretty intense. And I was kind of watching my mind reeling in this space. We lived through Hurricane Sandy, and it was a mess over here, and trees went down and everything. But my son has a basketball hoop which stayed up the whole time, but it went down, of course, right? On Monday, it went down. So I watched it go down, like and I said, wow, and I could feel myself go, whoop, completely off center. So I was watching that, and I was brought to a time when we had a really big storm. Adam Gelsey happened to be here, and it was a very different setting. It had been a beautiful day, and then suddenly a storm came in, and he was doing an empowerment at that time. And as he did the empowerment, thunder and lightning started to happen. And what a different experience for me, because we were seeing it as a blessing. And the storm was wonderful and timely, and gave us such joy. And here I am with a storm, feeling this fear, and saying, well, my mind is telling me that it's X, Y, and Z. Yes, the basketball hoop went down, and I can feel myself going down with it. So I was sharing with the group before we practiced that I was in this interesting space, and realizing how thick fear has been, and how much of the mind is that, but there's that space. So if we could just pause even in these moments, and I was able to get a grip and get myself to just get that space. And I have to say, I often find it when I think of Rinpoche and devotion to Rinpoche, resets me. And then suddenly the space is very spacious. And so then you're in the belly of the whale or the eye of the storm, and it's okay. This is happening. And I've been thinking about Viktor Frankl a lot too, and so many teachings around that. keeping that view and spaciousness. And of course, I can go on and on. But this was a very, very potent meditation. Yeah.
So that's very pithy, or at least what I take of a pith of what you're saying, which feels really central, is, that you clearly distinguish, as your name suggests, clearly distinguish between when the spaciousness is there and when it's not there for you, the difference. It's a discrimination that you make. Yeah, is that so?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So just to say that's it's really important, and to notice, as you and Deborah both notice, that, which I also notice, is that when we do have access to that, it makes a difference. It makes quite a significant difference. That's important information. Not everybody knows this in a experienced near way. People talk about it, but to know it, to feel it in your body, to make that discrimination from the perspective of your mind and your body, is quite significant. I just want to call that out, and thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Who else? I'm sure you all have things you have thought. Deborah said it was hard work, and I was going to take it in two ways. The one way, it's hard work when we forget the space, right? Because then we're in the storm, and we are the storm. And then, it might seem like, oh, it's hard work to always remember. But really, the hard thing is when we forget. And then we get caught up in, as you said, Stephanie, we're making it up to a large degree, to a far larger degree than we imagine. And to be able to see that is a gift. So whatever allows us to see that, and that's basically what our practice is always showing us, right? We get to see different ways of being and recognize what our habits are and recognize the ones that don't work for us. And have compassion for ourselves. Human beings, I think in a Times article, which I only skimmed, Jack Kornfield was giving advice about how to, release anxiety in these days. And what do you do when you get anxious? And, at one point he said, well, he didn't say smile at yourself, but it was kind of like that, because that's what a human organism is. We get anxious when there's a big storm. And lacking other kinds of conditions, that's how we are. We're created that way. But we also have other options. Yeah? Anyone else? Especially somebody we haven't heard from for a while, if you like. So I'll come back to you in a while again and ask you how you are. I wanted to appreciate the feedback on the meditation. It was kind of spontaneous, but also coming deeply out of just reflecting on the way we get in our own way. The path of practice is we often think of it, and it's talked about with good reason, as things that we need to do to get from here to there. That's important. And it's also important to start to see how, well, we just get in our own way. In fact, that's what our troubles mostly are. Maybe all are, maybe 1,000% are. I mean, of course, there are causes and conditions that we don't have control over, and they do impact us, and there's no denying that. And so it's not to fault anyone for being anxious in anxiety-producing circumstances. Still, part of us can be a little curious. How did I get, because sometimes, kind of like you said, Stephanie, there was a storm, Kelsey Rinpoche there's a particular situation, and it was not a storm for you, or not the same kind of storm for you. And we all have lived long enough, I think, to go through various experiences that sometimes they're terrible and sometimes they're not. And to find out more about ourselves so that we know what is that in it? What can we do? What can we see? What can we know that we're not just throwing ourselves up as a target. It seems like things are coming at us, but who's supplying the target? That's hard to see. That's why we blame things on the outside. And so I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about it in terms of cycles. And I've been thinking also about in this terms of this little story that I started a few weeks ago, I think, of how, one way what our practices are, and I'm thinking very much of practices that we know, Tara, Yeshe Tsogyal. I'm also thinking very much of chair practice, is really about getting out of our own way. Think about it. It can be very elaborate, the visualization. Oh, this is what we're doing, getting out of our own way and seeing that it's all play. It's all, I don't know if it's child's play, it's cosmic play. This idea of lila goes back to Indian days, the rolwa in Tibet. And the thing, if we could just realize that everything is just, it's just play, then we wouldn't take it so seriously in the way that makes it so difficult for us. I'm not saying that's an easy thing to do at all. In fact, it's why there are zillions of practices and ways of trying to understand this. So when I was thinking about that, I started to see this little story in a different way. And I summarized it for you last time. I'm going to read it. This is dated India, 1st century, the Naga Princess's Enlightenment. It's still from this book, The Hidden Lamp, which the editors Florence Kaplow and Susan Moon invited a number of women to write little short commentaries on various sutras. I talked before about Kisa Gotami and was it someone else who lost all her family. It was also from the same book. And this was the sutra that I ended up writing about. So I've thought about it. So, the Nagas, they're these big dragon snakes that live, very, very powerful beings. Nagarjuna, the famous Nagarjuna, who went down to the land of the Nagas and brought back the perfection of wisdom sutras, which the Nagas had preserved for 400 years under the sea. They're legendary. They're somewhat related to Chinese dragons. They are the beings who really don't like it when we mess up the world. So the Tibetans will say when there are pandemics or earthquakes or floods, especially floods, the Nagas are angry. They don't like the way we're treating their world. So this is a little story about the Naga princess. And in this case, it's Manjushri, an embodiment of wisdom, who returned to the Buddha's assembly after visiting the Nagas who live under the ocean. And when Manjushri got there, coming back from the ocean, he praised the wisdom of the 8-year-old Naga princess. He said that she loves all beings as herself and is capable of realizing the enlightenment of the Buddhas. Well, how do you think this went down with that crowd? Bodhisattva said, the Buddha himself spent thousands of lifetimes of practice before enlightenment. How could an 8-year-old girl realize enlightenment? So back to the idea of making something up with your mind, this Bodhisattva that he was, hearing about this 8-year-old girl who is described as loving all beings as herself, which for me, when we send out slowly, slowly tenderness to our own body, cell by cell, I feel that is practice, like piano scales for loving all living beings. If you can love every cell of your own body, that's just my personal feeling that that's where it starts or where it can start. Anyway, so the Bodhisattva wasn't having it. It took the Buddha eons. How could this 8-year-old girl? Then the princess appeared. She appeared before the Buddha and his assembly. The Buddha's disciple Shariputra. Now, you know, Shariputra is always the straight man in these conversations. Going back to the Malakirti Sutra, he's always got the position that Buddha's disciple Shariputra explained to the princess that it was not possible for her to realize enlightenment because she had the body and obstacles of a woman. So here she is, too young, wrong gender. All of this is projection, right? And we feel this, maybe we women especially, but men, everybody gets projected onto by other people, right? As either more capable than we are, or less capable than we are, or differently capable than we are. And we feel it, right? Sometimes it feels like a prism coming on you, and you just, anyway, that's how projection works. So that's what Shariputra said. No way. Well, the princess was carrying a jewel, a precious jewel, which she presented to the Buddha. She said, "The jewel which I gave to Lord Buddha was quickly received, wasn't it?" Everybody agreed. Yes, Buddha immediately received it. She said, "Now I will attain Buddhahood even more quickly." In that very instant, she became a male bodhisattva, carried out all the practices of a bodhisattva, walked to the foot of the Bodhi tree, was completely enlightened, and began teaching the Dharma to beings throughout the universe. As always with these stories, there are many threads that one can take out. And the one that I'm going to take out today, and then ask you what threads you would like to take out, is the one about she's showing them how easy it is. They've got this projection that we also have, I think, because that enlightenment is a big job. Deborah said, a lot of effort, right? It's a big job. Buddha took aeons. Jetsun Tara, we know, spent aeons doing wonderfully marvelous things to get the merit. Finally, she's a Buddha. What's this 80-year-old girl doing? She's showing us that it's also very easy. Just like that. Maybe that was the heart of her teaching. Oh, Bodhisattva, oh, Shariputra, it's not so hard. The light is already within you. And the many even early sutras say that. Right? Buddha nature, we hear this again and again. It's already there. There's already something in us. You can practice after all, right? You know something about the light of your own mind because you know that there is knowing in you. You can't deny that. Can you? Can you deny that there's knowing in you? If you said, yes, I can, that would still be a kind of knowing. Consciousness is pervasive everything in our being, in our knowing, in our everything. So she's showing them something. Just like that. Just like that. And part of it because perhaps back to the theme that we're talking about and the one of many threads that we're talking about here is that, you know how it is when you're a kid? Nothing is hard, really. And nothing is quite so you just don't know enough to worry about anything. I think I've spoken before, a moment for me that, you know, when I was, I think in 7th or 8th grade, my parents took me skiing for the very first time. I had on skis for the very first time. Very strange in those days, really long skis. And we went to a golf course. It was a very hilly golf course. And I just let go, whoosh, down the hill. Of course, I fell. And of course, I realized that I didn't know how to ski. But there was that moment where I just didn't know. I had no fear. I just thought, this looks like fun, right? And there's still that possibility for us when we forget what we learned about how to fear. Now, there are many situations where caution is indeed appropriate. Okay, I'm not saying we should be crazy, but I'm just trying to zero in for myself and for us, for our conversation, like, what do you do? What do I do that makes it, you know, why is it difficult to remember? What do we mean by that? Things come to mind all the time. We don't consider it difficult. And yet we have this idea, Deborah's not the only one, I'm not the only one. Oh, it's, I have to sit down and meditate now. And, I'm doing this practice. So I don't want to hear a word about that practice because it's too much. But maybe it's too much because we're making it too much. Just like the Bodhisattva and Shariputra, like they were making the girl, the whole project of enlightenment, they were putting iron weights on it. And this 8-year-old Naga princess Buddha took the jewel right away, right? Well, I can do enlightenment just like that. Why not? In other words, it's an example, at least for me, it's an example to reflect how I make things heavy. And I don't have to. I mean, it feels like I have to. And sometimes it feels like I'm being good and responsible if I do that. What kind of silly, prideful creature would I be if I thought I could get enlightened just like that? Well, I might be silly, prideful, or I might actually understand something that is, in fact, instantaneously available. So the youth of the underwater princess suggests not only freshness, but another vital Buddhist principle, namely that the qualities we seek so arduously are already present within us. Imagine believing that. So what do you guys think? What do you think about the story? What do you think about the practice in relationship to the story? Or something else about related to what's going on with you right now? Floor is open. There is space for you. Yeah,
Eric.
Eric.
Hey, hello.
Hi, Eric.
Yeah, this aspect of the story regarding confidence in ourselves, I think it's something that, especially in the latest teachings that I've received, like the last Purva empowerment, when you were talking about the different empowerments, the empowerment thing, it's a lot about self-confidence to realize that you can be the vase to contain the energetic body and mind of a Buddha.
Mm.
So in a way, sometimes we think it's going to be like way too hard. We're going to have to spend eons in the bodhisattva path. But also, at a very practical level, the goal of the teachings is to transcend whatever you think you are in terms of your own limitations. And that aspect, it shines in the story of this Naga princess, because she was, I'm sure, like super confident. Like she probably never heard of all the eons that should take her in order to complete the bodhisattva path. And going to your story about skating, or it was skiing, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I remember when I learned to ride a bike, like I did it the first time. And I don't even know why. And when my mom started like asking me how come I could ride my bike, like eventually I fell because I felt like I should have more training in order to ride it.
Wow, that's a great example.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe we never cared about it. That's just a joke, but yeah, maybe like all the information that we receive eventually, because we see ourselves as a limited being, that doesn't help sometimes our confidence, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. We are learning not to see ourselves that way. That is a very significant part of our practice. And at the same time, there are things we need to learn. You know, it's kind of a both and thing that can be complicated, but yeah, I love that bicycle image. You know, it's a great image because it's a great story because obviously you did know how to ride a bike because you did. And then, but you're not supposed to know that. And so then you didn't. And that's a human being. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Who else?
Laura.
Yes, Laurel. You've been looking like you had something to say for several minutes. Thank you. I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I think one of this reminds me of when Rinpoche gave the movement teaching. There was one single moment in it that felt like this hidden treasure that expanded for me as a tiny seed. And it's just at the beginning of it where he sits and he says, calm your mind, sit there. And he just says, easy, easy. Tibetan, obviously, but just that single moment, that idea of ease and easiness, I've
Yeah.
taken with me
Yeah.
in this very profound way, so much so that it has entered into my relationship between my now husband and I. Whenever we've gotten into, you know, conversations or anything kind of like a difficult kind of moment, we just both say easy. And we just got married recently, and it's inscribed on the inside of our wedding bands.
Oh,
Easy.
so
And it just, I think that's that story is, yeah, that I think that's what it brought up for me. And just that one particular moment, just one word, but how Rinpoche said it, and that it unlocks this thing that, yes, and having the expectation of ease, how that creates ease,
and knowing what it
whatever
feels like.
circumstance you're in.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So just that, I wanted to share that.
Thank you and congratulations. Happy wedding.
Yeah.
You
Thank
know,
you.
That's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah, I've been meaning to send you a message. I'll write to you.
Okay. We'll
Yeah.
still get excited when you send the message.
Okay.
That's lovely. And also lovely to be so receptive. I mean, I also felt that sitting at his feet when he said that, you know, Harvey was doing the projector. And yeah, he was transmitted. We talk about transmission, and that I think that surely is a powerful transmission, is doing that. And there are other moments in that also for me. So that's so beautiful in your ring. And oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that jewel with us. Yeah. Another minute or two. Who'd like to speak? Yeah, Nam. Was that a hand wave, Anne, after Nam? No? No? Okay, Nam, then. But you have to, yeah, good.
I think the main thing is compassion when just like someone stole a lot of things from me, and then I recognize that there is a pull, just pull me toward the poison, like anger, hatred, you know, and have the attachment to things that I got. So, you know, constantly just be pulled through the poison. And if I don't recognize that, all the poisons, and then I will identify with the poison. So that is terrible. Just like I don't have any compassion for myself.
Mm.
Now that I have anger. And I was thinking that I can kill that person with my hand, you know. So that's extremely hatred there. And, things go that. And daily, if I don't think about the poison, just like what's going on now with the virus, and listen to the news, and I say, yeah, the top 1%, they don't have to worry. The one don't have the money. You see many, many cars lined up just to receive 25 pounds of food.
Mm.
Yeah, you see that. If I'm not clear with myself, and then the jealousy show up.
Mm.
It's like I see, being pulled by the poison everywhere,
Yeah.
and I don't have the calm, abiding, contemplate about the
Mm-hmm.
Dharma.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I'm not stable, and everything going on, and not even can sleep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that I I can see I don't have. If that happened, and I don't recognize all that poison, then I really do not have compassion for myself.
Mm. It's
And
very true. What you're saying is
top
really
5%,
true.
1%, and the one who's got stuff from me, and
Yeah.
it's on.
You know what I also hear you saying, Nam, that's so important is that you clearly recognize the difference in your own experience when, as you describe it, the poison pulls you and what that pull feels like. I think we all, if we're honest, admit that we get pulled by various nefarious things. But what I hear you saying, and really, I think everyone who spoke in one way or another described some very precise identification or discrimination that you are making between being pulled or not pulled, between being easy or not easy, between knowing how to ride and then not knowing as if you didn't. I mean, these are simple things in a way, but they're not usually part of everyday conversation. And from my experience in life and on the path, these are very essential, very important to be able to speak the way I think you all have from your experience. Sometimes people parrot what the books say. It's good to know what the books say. And then to take that into experience is really, really significant. So I want to thank everybody. And we've come to the end of our hour, just like that. We will practice Green Tara at 10:30 on Saturday. We're also here Friday, 7 to 8 for our usual Green Tara. Everyone is welcome. And you will get an email for the link and so on. And for those of you who do Yeshit Sogel, we will do that at 11:30, and you're invited to join, even if you don't do Green Tower at 10 after 11. I will give a little talk, say a little something. So I hope to see you then. Hope you'll be well, and we'll do our dedication
and blessing.
and blessing.
And we'll say the names of people.
Yeah, and we'll say the names. I don't know if they're on the chat or if you will just, are they on the chat?
No, we'll just say.
So just everybody speak the names of the people that you want to share the merit with at this time. By this good may I swiftly once become a great guru, lead all beings, everyone, to reach to that very ground. With all of you in mind, we light this lamp of clarity, May the glow of love, wisdom shine within us, everyone, till we all rise forth born in one enlightened mandala. And our good wishes tonight for all beings everywhere. In particular, everybody, please name those people in your heart right now.
Joanne Schneider
Mark,
and Gary, Michelle Hunter, Sharon
Rebecca,
Stern,
Sharon
Lila
Stone,
Kate
Rebecca
Wheeler,
Pine, Joanne Schneider,
all
Sharon, her
all
family,
health workers,
everybody
all
suffering
service
from
workers,
COVID, all
government leaders,
those who are helping those who are sick,
all doctors who are sick.
all doctors who are sick. Mm. Thank you all. It's good to see you.
Great to see you.
Stay well, stay safe.
Well, stay healthy.
See you Friday, Saturday. If you haven't registered, please register
For Dzogchen
for
Cycles.
Dzogchen Cycles. Love to you all. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, everybody. And hi to everybody on YouTube. Invisible to us, but there.